Well, welcome everybody. I always like to start by thanking all of our sponsors who are amazing and keep us going. Uh, Thanks to ASICS, our shoe company, our Volvo, our car company, Electrolit, our drink company, um, Goo, and Easy Up, Easy Bars. Thanks to all of them for sponsoring our LA Roadrunners and the LA Marathon. So with that, let's get the party started here. And I do want to thank all of you for kind of chiming in. And if you have a body, you're an athlete. I like starting like little discussions with that. Everybody is an athlete. A lot of people think they're not. And that's me and the book I wrote. Okay. So here's tonight's discussion. I really want to talk about, most of us, except for probably the Newport Beach group, most of us have done some really serious hills, and Newport Beach is pretty rolling anyway. And I want to talk about why we do what we do. Why do we do all those hills? And how can you get through all those hills without really beating yourself up and burning yourself out and those kinds of things? Because they become important,
Okay, don't move your car.
especially in the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon, where the biggest hills of the race are. And I'm going to have a whole long discussion on the first 6 miles alone of the LA Marathon, let alone the LA Marathon by itself. And that's coming up in a couple of weeks. But of course, so is the LA Marathon coming up in a couple of weeks. And we will have a chance to run the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon in, I think it's 3 weeks from now, on March the 2nd, however long March the 2nd is from now, I think about 3 weeks from now. Yeah, we have 2 build weeks, and then we're at March the 2nd. So this week is a taper week, 2 build weeks, and then March the 2nd is a taper week where we're doing the first 6 miles. We meet at Dodger Stadium. All the groups, Newport, Griffith, and Santa Monica, meet at Dodger Stadium March the 2nd to actually run the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. And you will note Temple is about similar to what we do Godzilla in Griffith Park. It's actually a little longer, and it's even a hair longer than Amalfi that we do in Santa Monica. So because even though we're doing these massive hills, there is one on the LA Marathon that's kind of similar. Now, do we do a hill just because it's similar to something on the course? No, not really. We do a hill because I want you guys to get the idea that you need to slow down. It's all about building endurance and strength with all of these hill workouts or all of these workouts. You build strength with hills. But the other thing is there's a great lesson in hills. And that's not, well, how do you do hills? Do we really need hill training to learn how to do hills? No, really, the lesson is about fat consumption. If your heart rate is too high, and let me flip to our bodies use two different sources to create fuel. We use fat at more lower heart rates, and we use glycogen, which comes from carbohydrate, at higher heart rates. We have a limited reservoir of glycogen. We have I don't care if you're the thinnest Kenyan, you have an abundance of fat to create fuel, right? ATP is the fuel your body creates. And you've probably seen this slide a billion times where when the heart rate is going up and up and up and up, your glycogen consumption is going and your fat consumption is going down, meaning you're taking resources from a more limited reservoir, meaning glycogen, which comes from carbs, and you're not taking as many resources from a more abundant reservoir, meaning fat. So what that means is you are going to come closer and closer and closer to hitting the wall. In other words, in the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon, where all the big hills are, you want to conserve that glycogen, which you use at higher heart rate, by going at lower heart rate and using more fat. Now, we all use the same amount. We use glycogen right now. You're sitting still, your heart rate is low. You're using some, but you're not dramatically limiting that reservoir, depleting that reservoir. So that's one of the great lessons that we learn from doing hills. Simply stated, slow it down and save the glycogen. I want to get bumper stickers that say, save the glycogen. I know I've said that dumb joke a million times, but it's so true. I really mean it. Um, when you get to the mile 6 in our training run or on the marathon and you feel like you're just getting started, great. That's where you want to be. Mile 6 is right at the end of the Echo Park Pond. At the very end of you come around the side of Echo Park Pond and, imagine my hand is Echo Park Pond. You come across the side and then you come across the length of Echo Park Pond, and you come down a little hill before you get to it, and then across. At the very end of Echo Park Pond, the long side, that's where mile 6 is. You take a little veer left up a hill, and you're on Sunset. That hill is maybe like a tenth of a mile, if even, maybe a little more. And you're on Sunset. When you're on Sunset, if you're feeling like, damn, I'm just getting going, I could have really run the heck out of those hills even faster, that's where you want to be. That's the feeling that you want. If you're feeling like depleted, burned out, like, oh my God, I took that like a 10K because it was a 10K, and I'm a little tired, you got 20 miles left to go. So you don't, the point to the hill thing is you really, if your group, everyone's an individual, and even though you have a similar ability level to the people in your group, some of us has greater strength for hills. Some of us have lesser strength for hills. If your group is going up that A hill, especially like Third Street is the first one. First Street, you go over 2 blocks, you hit First Street. It's kind of the same hill, sort of going up to the Disney Hall. You take a right turn, go past the Music Center, you go way down Temple, and then you start going up the big one. It's Temple, it's just an extension, but what went down is now going up and up and up and up. You take a right turn over the freeway, you're still going up, and you take a left turn on a side street, you're still going up. And if by the end of when you hit Sunset after mile 6, those hills can really burn you out. Right out of the gate, you're going up a third of a mile. Kind of, you'll see it when we're at Dodger Stadium. That street you drove down to park when you were at Dodger Stadium last, that's the hill where the LA Marathon begins. You run up that hill. You will not be able to drive in that entrance during LA Marathon Day because that's part of the course, LA Marathon Day. So part of hills is really the lesson that if your group is going up that hill and you're feeling yourself breathing harder than, the people around you, let them go a little bit. You can always catch up to them on the downhill or later on. Let's face it, in a crowd of 22,000 people, you will never, ever be alone. Okay. And when you get to 80 minutes to go, you can do the math yourself based on divide 80 minutes by your average race pace, and that will give you the miles to go. In other words, if you're a 10-minute per mile runner and you divide 10 minutes per mile into 80 minutes, that's 8 miles to go. 8 minus 26.2 is 18.2 mile. At 18.2 mile, if you have saved up glycogen reserves by taking in carbohydrate in the form of gels and liquids and whatever, you can get carbs into your system to turn into glycogen and maintain that glycogen reservoir. And you've kept a low enough heart rate with 80 minutes left to go. Like I say, for 10 miles, that would be mile 18.2, as an example. Speed it up. That's where you can speed it up. First 6 miles, hold back, until you get to that 80 minutes to go, you're basically in the red zone. It's what's called a negative split. It's what pro athletes want to achieve. They want to be a little slower the first half, and they want to speed up the second half. That's the sign of a really well run race. And given the fact that the hills are all in the beginning, well, excuse me, the big hills are all in the beginning of the LA Marathon, you have got about a 50-foot climb in the last mile alone, similar to Ocean Avenue. If you had Ocean Avenue as your last mile and you were going uphill instead of down, that's kind of like what mile 25 to 26 is of now this current LA Marathon. So you have that, but that's minimal. And a little hill at Beverly Glen, it does go down and then up again, right about a quarter mile from the finish. But that's pretty short. At any rate, that's the lesson of hills. You know, if you're breathing harder, that's indicative of what your heart rate is doing. And hold back. By all means, hold back. And this Saturday, we are going to do some marathon race pace on the flat ground and feel that out. That's the way marathon race pace needs to feel. That's going to be marathon race pace, but on flat ground. So when you're running up a hill, if you're feeling like you're pushing it harder, slow it down. It's okay for runners to walk, run, walk. It's okay for run walkers to do more walking. And it's okay for walkers to just stop, take a break, let their breathing rates come down, meaning their heart rate is coming down. All good. Hold back, hold back, hold back when you're going up those hills. Don't let your heart rate go too high, or you're going to be depleting those glycogen levels. Now, one kind of carryover from last week, there was a good question that I got on an email, or excuse me, a kind of a text chat sort of on YouTube. Somebody asked about, you know, the volume of protein that I recommended for sustaining running, or run, walk, or walk. It's pretty much the same. And, you know, we break up these little filaments that are tiny submicroscopic little filaments, and they're all protein molecules. Strands of beads of molecules of protein make up each one of these little filaments that kind of come together and expand. At any rate, I recommended that you have about 1 to a half to 1 gram of protein a day per kilogram of of grams of body weight.
What?
That's okay. Let me go back, explain that. If you take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2, that will give you your body weight in grams. Okay. Now, half of that is the amount of grams of protein that you need to consume in the course of a day. Or 1 of that, half to 1 times that amount is what you need to consume in the course of a day. So imagine a person who's like 150 pounds, average height and weight, 150-pound guy, woman, whatever. That would be like about 72 grams, right? That person, if you divide 150 by 2.2, I'm not looking at my calculator, but it's about 72 grams. So about, what is that? Like 36 to 72 grams of protein a day is what we need. Now, somebody asked that, you know, he needs more than that when he's weightlifting, or he's actually going to like lose muscle mass, especially upper body muscle mass. And that is absolutely correct. Bodybuilders need like 1 to maybe 1.5 or even 2 grams of protein per gram of body weight
That makes sense.
a day. Okay. So if you're bodybuilding, you really do need to take in more protein than what I'm suggesting. On the other hand, you don't want a lot of upper body muscle mass because that's added weight. Yes, You do want core strength to support your back. You do want arm strength because your arm walkers, run walkers and runners, their elbows are at about a 90-degree angle when they're running, when you're moving your arms, right? So you do have to have some bicep strength in there to just hold that. You do need some shoulder strength to, and some upper body strength. But, I've had guys who are like 200-pound football players, solid muscle mass. And they did. I remember there was one guy that his girlfriend complained that he was doing marathons because she didn't like the way he looked because he lost some upper body muscle mass in training for a marathon. That actually muscle mass loss for him, younger guy, actually benefited his marathon because he was actually losing weight, or in this case, muscle that he did not need to use for the marathon. So yes, you need more protein if you're a bodybuilder. On the other hand, you don't really want to be a bodybuilder. It's okay to lose some upper body muscle mass during the marathon training season and then rebuild it again during the off season with more protein to rebuild all that muscle tissue that you're breaking up from bodybuilding. And keep in mind, when you break up muscle tissue, you're coming back stronger, and that is called hypertrophy. So I just wanted to kind of add that to my lecture last week on protein. And with all of that in mind, I say to all of you, whoops, there it is. Train smart and train to win, because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. Thank you. With that, I thank all of you for logging in. We're going to keep going with questions because you guys have always had great questions, all of them. I've always been impressed with the questions you guys have. And I will soon enough see you all at the finish line. And there you go. Good. I do want to congratulate, which I will do on Saturday morning, any of you who are listening tonight via the video recording of this or online live. Congratulate any of you who have last week, Saturday's 18-miler, as hilly as it was, and they will not be any hillier than that. They will get easier and easier, believe me. But my wife behind me just said lies. Anyway, I do want to congratulate any of you who have never gone that far before in your entire lives. I know there are about a bunch of you, and congratulations. That's really extraordinary. It's a great feat. Hopefully, when I was training for my first marathon, someone once asked me, I had just done an 18-miler, and I really had just gotten it in my head that, 18 miles, I can do this. Before that, I was like, yeah, I'm not so sure. But after 18, somehow something clicked in my head. I just said, for me, that was the telling tale. I'm going to finish this marathon. I can do this. And for all of you, I hope that you can get to a point, maybe now, maybe soon, where you can say to yourself subliminally or otherwise, I think I can do this marathon, even though you've never done one before. So I'm hoping you're getting to that level. And with that, anyone who has any questions via the chat or otherwise, let me open my chat box and check. Please ask away. And I don't see any, oh, here we go. Let's see, do we have anything in the chat? No, I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat. Anything verbally or anything you want to type into the chat? Any questions, you guys? Have I answered all the questions this entire season? Any questions just on first on what I discussed? Okay. Any questions on anything else?
I have a personal question, but
Of course.
I don't want to bother anyone else. So if anyone has any questions about the topic, go ahead first.
Okay. Thanks. I think Paul has an encrypted message, which I can't somehow read. Paul, I apologize if that was you from this week. Oh, I do have a question, and then I'll get back to you as soon as, here it is, this just popped up. Jaime wants to know, why do groups walk in up hills versus run? And basically to keep the lower heart rate, to save glycogen. That's 100% why. Really simple. You know, my groups in Griffith Park, traditionally, the 15 years that I coached that group, they would walk up hills in training, you know, because they're building endurance at low heart rate. So they want to maintain low heart rate. So they hit a 20-foot hill next to the ranger station, which is like nothing, this little dirt hill. And the faster groups, even the 10-minute per mile group, would be slowing down and slowing down and slowing down. And then they'd be walking up this hill. And the point being is they probably look like a bunch of lazy people in training, but you know, honestly, every year that group, because they focus so much on endurance, meaning low heart rate, slowing it down on hills. They have like a 60 to 70% PR rate, personal record PR, meaning these people every year have another faster race, another faster race, another faster race. I think on the Rose Bowl half, you guys, they were about 30%, something like that. If we're lucky, maybe 40% had a PR on the Rose Bowl half. So that's like maybe half or less than what the group in Griffith Park has. So basically what I'm saying is really clear. If you want to build endurance, you need to slow down on those hills in training even. You not want to beat yourself up on those hills. You want to slow it down. You build strength from pushing back to go up, all that, all good. But you know, you don't want to burn yourself out. Statistically, you will have far better training and have far greater fitness by looking like a lazy person walking up those hills. And LA Marathon Day, man, you race yourself up those hills. Good luck. You're going to be depleting your glycogen levels very early. It's a limited resource for fuel, and you're just going to keep depleting. And good luck. You'll hit the wall. There's a question, a trick question. The question is, I've asked this before. What mile do you hit the wall at the LA Marathon? And the appropriate answer would hopefully be, you never hit the wall at the LA Marathon because you're taking in more gels and you're taking those hills at lower heart rate. And even the flats and the downhills, you're not raising your heart rate too much above, you know, certainly not above marathon race pace. Your marathon race pace is still low enough that you can maintain glycogen simply by just taking in a few extra gels and drink and all that. And damn, 80 minutes to go, you're speeding up. That's the way you do a marathon. Make it look lazy and you will beat everyone around you at your ability level. I guarantee it. That's where PRs come from. I cannot install that in you guys enough. That's where it comes from. Low heart rate builds endurance. That's what it's all about. And the speed work in midweek, you know, the short and fast does raise that bar. So you're still using fat at a higher heart rate. That's what those threshold runs do. That's why we do those threshold runs. It raises the level where you're still utilizing fat as a resource for fuel, meaning a more abundant reservoir you're consuming part of so you can go farther, faster. That's why we do this ongoing timed threshold runs. Great question. Anybody else? Any other questions? I know someone had a personal question.
Yeah, okay. So
Great.
can I, yeah, okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to.
Go right ahead.
So okay. Instead of running the 18-miler this weekend, I did the Surf City Marathon.
Great.
And
You did the full marathon.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, great.
And I ended up
Congratulations.
Thank you. It took me 3 hours and 35 minutes. But
Okay.
which is a
Nice.
PR, so yeah.
Great.
But I realized, oops, sorry.
You're good.
I realized that I wanted to accelerate at the end and I couldn't accelerate. Like I felt like could have kept going mileage wise, but speed wise I was just slowing down fast. So I'm just wondering for these next 3 weeks if I want to like work, like how should I do more speed work, or how should I try to, what should I change anything in order to improve speed wise?
Great. Well, let me first ask a question. And that's that when you mentioned that you were slowing down, but you felt you could go a lot farther, it sounds to me like, and tell me if I'm correct on this, that it wasn't your energy level that was suffering, which would mean you depleted your glycogen levels quite a lot. It sounds like your legs were just getting more and more and more fatigued. Is that correct?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So what you really need is strength training. Do you ever do strength training either in a gym or, I mean, for your legs, strength training in a gym or at home, lunges and squats and all that stuff? Any strength training?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm adding enough weight to it though. Or I don't know if I'm doing the right exercises, but I am doing like leg presses, weighted lunges, like Bulgarian split squats, that sort of thing.
Great. Good. You mentioned you may not have enough weight. How does it feel when you're doing strength training? Just really, really easy, or what do you think?
Uh, I I try to go until failure.
Oh, that's a
So like
lot.
I'll start low and then increase, and then when I can't do the exercise, I'll stop.
I can't quite, well, hopefully the next day you're not doing speed work where you might risk injury. I can say that. I don't necessarily recommend that people go to the level of failure where, meaning you could, you know,
Mhm.
that's for those of you who don't know the term, that's what it means. Um, I don't necessarily recommend that we runners go to failure only because you don't want to get too sore for if you're going to run the next day. If you're not going to run the next day, if it's a day off, well then, fine. Um, okay. How many sets and reps are you doing? Well, you're going to failure, so that's a lot. About how many sets are you doing?
It's usually like 5 sets per
Oh,
exercise
that's good.
of
That's
10.
of each movement,
Yeah.
each, yeah, and yeah. Um, I guess the other question I have, my wife actually just wrote me a little note, and it says, um, did she go out too fast? Which is actually a good question. Were you running at any point, either up a hill or down, or well, I know Surf City, it's not a lot of hills, but were you at any point running too fast, possibly?
I mean, I think actually I did pretty well in that respect, in that my
Right.
first couple miles were my slower miles. When I went up hills, those were my slower miles. And then when I was going down, there weren't, it wasn't that hilly, but like for the one hill that was
Right.
there, I was um uh going down the hill like
A little
faster.
slower.
But
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
they're sort of gradual, they're not, you're kind of running on a street near the beach. It's kind of,
no.
yeah. Um, for
I
those
guess,
of you,
sorry. I have a,
for-
yeah, like strength what, how many times a week do you recommend strength training? Just like once, or?
well, it really depends on how much time you have, because right now you guys are at such high volume. Usually, people, because we have jobs, because we have family or whatever, we all have, we don't have an entire day to train. Pro athlete I mean, a triathlon, for example, a pro triathlete on the nationals team, I watched them do this. But that they will swim in the morning, take 2 hour break, run us bike in the afternoon, take a 2 hour break, eat something, and then run in the evening, take a 2 hour break, and then they'll do weight training after that, and then have a snack, mostly protein.
Mhm.
That's a lot, and they'll do some element of that different things of that, but that kind of regimen every day. So could you run and then do a little strength training every day? I mean, who the heck has the time to do that? If you can get in a second day of strength training each week, that might help. I'm trying to think if there's something else. You didn't have any aches or pains in your legs or anything like that? No joint pain or muscle pain or anything like that? It was just fatigue in the leg?
I mean, I think my right hamstring started to like cramp towards mile 18, but I just ignored
Oh,
it.
got it. Well, there are a couple of reasons for cramping, and one reason for cramping might be fatigue.
Mhm.
So that strength training really could help. I guess I have to ask, are you doing some strength training for your hamstrings and your glutes? I know you
Uh,
mentioned squats,
sorry.
which kind of lunges, sure. How about like reverse plank, which we call the bridge, when you're lying on your back and you're raising your hips off the ground with like one leg straight in line with your torso, your stomach. Are you doing that?
No. Yeah, I'm not doing
Okay.
much hamstring work, I think.
Aha. Maybe that's a reason that you started to feel cramping in your hamstring, meaning fatigue in your hamstring. Were you feeling similar fatigue in your quads, the front of your leg?
No.
Aha, we're on to something here. So, um, well, we may be getting somewhere. So there's now a picture that's emerging, and this is kind of the way it's done. All of you can benefit from this kind of analysis of your own selves. It sounds like maybe you need a little more strength training for your hamstrings. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you have any drills you recommend for
Yeah.
hamstring?
I'm assuming because the exercises you mentioned do not include like a machine. I'm assuming and that's fine. You're not working out at a gym, which would be something else.
Oh,
You're
I do work out at a gym too. Sorry, I do use the machines like the hip abduction machines and the like I
okay.
don't know the names of them, but like the leg press
Got it.
machine.
Got it. For a gym, well, I'll give you a couple of things. For a gym, you would definitely benefit from the I'm going to say two things. Well, I'll say three things. The one that will really hit your hamstrings is the leg curl machine. You have that roller that goes on your ankle, and you're kind of like laying over the machine, kind of like in this position, and
Mhm.
you're lifting your heel up, kind of. Well, you can't see my leg. Anyway,
Yeah, no, but I know what you're talking about.
the machine. That would be great for your hamstrings. You always want to do the front and back sort of evenly because you don't want one muscle to be way stronger than the other. So the seated leg curl machine, which has a similar roller, but on the front of your ankle, and you're sitting down and you're kind of lifting your leg up and lowering your leg like this, and the weight is going up and down as you do that kind of thing.
Mhm.
That would be great for the front of your legs.
Okay.
And some glute strength might come from the seated leg press, where your feet are on a machine. Try not to turn your feet this way. Try and keep them neutral so you can really, hit your glutes evenly, or you're not going to start straining muscles off to the side, kind of. But you're pushing against that plate, and you're either pushing the plate forward or you're pushing your chair back, one or the other. But that's definitely, the weight is going up one way or another. There are different versions of that same machine, but that would be a third really good one for you. That would even it all out. Or, like I said, for your hamstrings, when you're home 1 day a week, maybe do 5 sets of maybe 10, 20 reps of that, the reverse plank, the bridge. You know, you're lying on your back and you're raising your hips. Do you know that one?
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah,
all right.
kind of on your back and you're, how do I explain this? You're on your back and you're just raising up kind of off the ground. Well, that's a bad
Yeah.
example. Anyway,
No,
you
no.
know
So
what?
I know it's a drill. It's okay. So reverse bridges,
That would be
the hamstring curls, and okay.
leg
Yeah.
press and
Leg
leg
press.
press. Those three. If you wanted to throw in two more, you could do the adductor press, which has those, you're sitting down and has those two little plates right
Mhm.
between legs, and you're actually pushing them together and causing the weight to go up as you push them together with your knees. They're on your knees. Or abductor, where they're on the outside of your knees, the little plates, and you're pushing your legs open and pushing the weight up while pushing the things apart.
Mhm.
Would get the inner and outer part of your thigh and even your hip, which would be a good one to strength train. All of those things, maybe the plank at home, you know, 5 sets of 10 to 20 reps each at home once a week, and then maybe the gym once a week. Maybe that would keep it so it's less time consuming. You don't have to drive to the gym that way. That might really help you out.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely great question, and let me know how it goes.
All right. We'll
Uh,
do.
I mean, we got an 18 miler this weekend. Send me an email or on our next chat, just say, hey, oh, excuse me, this weekend is 10. Next weekend, the weekend after this Saturday, so 9 days from now, we have an 18 miler. It'll be flatter. And tell me how that goes, either on our chat or an email or whatever.
Sounds good. All right. We'll do. Thanks.
Great. Good job. Yeah, and that may keep you from cramping along your marathon too. Yeah. Good.
Would dehydration also deal with like does dehydration cause cramping or like have a correlational effect with cramping, or is that not related?
Yeah, no, there are several things that cause cramping. Dehydration could do it. Lack of minerals could do it. You know, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Sodium and potassium are really the big ones. Calcium is another small one. You know, those are what we call electrolytes. They're minerals that a depletion of those could cause cramping. Like you say, hydration, you know, limited hydration. You do need sodium to help your body hydrate, to absorb that hydration, that liquid, water, whatever, sport drink, whatever. So yeah, any one of those things. Oh, fatigue, again, you know, same kind of thing.
Okay.
Let me ask, do you cramp normally, or is it really just high mileage?
I cramp when I forget to drink water, and I didn't drink water for the first half. So I think that was also an important factor. And so I'm trying to figure
Got
out
it.
if that was
So there are two things that are going on for you. Is to one, drink, and
Mhm.
two, little strength training.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
both,
mhm.
both could cause those issues. But congratulations at 335. That's what is that, like 820 per mile pace, 815 per mile pace, something like that?
Yeah, it's 8:15. I was 19 seconds away from the Chicago qualifier, but next time,
Oh,
LA.
19 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, I do confess the LA Marathon is a little hillier than Surf City. There's no question.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and even Orange County half is a little hillier, but I am sure, you know, always try to get into Chicago via their, you know, they have this lottery system that you just sign up, and if you get lucky, you get in. But um, try the lottery. But there are going to be other marathons coming up.
Mhm.
There are people around the area that are pretty good, that have more downhill. There's one in Vegas, the Revel Mount St.
There's
Charleston.
also Ventura in Mountain to Beach.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. I heard of that one. Mhm.
Hmm.
But I think there was also very windy, like mile 21, you turn around and we had like the wind full front. So it was like, I don't think we're gonna deal with that same condition with the LA Marathon. So I don't know. I'm more
True.
optimistic.
True. We're not as close to the ocean as Surf City is, and Surf City can get some really good, strong winds blowing just off the ocean. Yeah, yeah, absolutely correct. But yeah, I've been there on that.
Mhm.
And never know what weather you're going to get at Surf City. It can be cold, rain, or whatever. Um, you just never know or it could be hot. You never know what Surf City is going to deliver weather-wise. Great race. It's a fun race. It's a good race.
Yeah.
Um, their half is really popular. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it was
big.
a gorgeous track. So I, of course, I passed. I mean, sorry. But yeah, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
you can't beat running along the beach, which we will be doing this Saturday, 2 days from now. So yeah, it's true. I agree. Um, anyway, yeah. Good. So we found a two things that may help you out there. Good. That's a great question. I love these questions because it's good to kind of like, how do you figure that out? And there are no quick, easy answers to these things. I have always said, and for those of you who want to become coaches, I've always said, um, a good coach knows everything. A great coach knows nothing but a lot of great questions. And I am basically trying desperately to work my way up to knowing nothing. So there, and that was an example of I really did try to ask questions, maybe not even
Mhm.
enough. But for those of you who want to be a coach, I hear a lot of coaches just right away, they know the answer and they may not really even know the question. Like hydration, that's a good question. Did you hydrate? You know? So anyway,
Mhm.
there you go.
All right. Well,
Um,
thank you so much.
Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, obviously I did not ask the question of did you hydrate, but at any rate, a good overall discussion. Anybody else? Question? Going once about anything? Going twice?
Coach, this
Yes.
is Bettina. Um, when you're talking about lower body strength and you're talking about going to the gym and all that, I appreciate that. I did not connect, but I on the chat I asked a question. In my neighborhood, they built uh stairs for exercising, and it's
Oh, I just saw your. Yeah.
172 steps one
Mm.
way up, and we call it the stairway to heaven. Is is that strength building for your legs? Can you consider that, or is that just endurance?
Well, it would not be endurance because your heart rate would be too high. It would be more threshold training, kind of raising the bar sort of on where you're still consuming fat. It would be great quad strength building. Running upstairs, you're not pushing back
Oh, I'm a
as much.
walker. I'm a
Right,
walker.
right. I know. But on stairs, you're not pushing back quite as
Um,
much as you are pushing down, right? Because you're kind of pushing down on the step to move yourself forward. You're not moving forward that much. You're just going up. It would depend on how steep the stairs are and how wide they are. If they're really rather long steps, um, then you would be using your hamstrings more. Great strength quad builder. Yeah, absolutely. Not as great for glutes and hamstrings.
okay.
Um, you know, that you would benefit maybe from working some glutes and hamstring strength. Absolutely great stuff. I mean, 100 something steps. Good grief. Good for you. That's a great, you
No,
know,
I did it a while ago, and then I stopped because I wasn't sure how it fit in our training. So now I'll put it back.
yeah, use it for anywhere you have like an R pace walk or a threshold walk where your heart rate is really elevated and you can start really pushing yourself up those steps. I mean, granted, we all walk steps. We don't really run steps, sort of, kind of. At any rate, yeah, that's a great strength builder for your quads. It's great for your high heart rate. It's really not low heart rate endurance work unless you're really, really, really slow. And even and
Mm.
it's going to be elevated, your heart rate is going to be elevated. Going up that many stairs, I find it probably for anybody pretty impossible to maintain endurance training on a long set of stairs that long. Your heart rate's gonna be higher, I would guess. Your breathing rate is indicative of your heart rate. You're gonna be breathing harder. Am I true on that one? When you hit 100 stair or more?
Yeah, right. But then you get to come back down. Right? You
Okay,
get to-
yeah, but think of that as like hill training. You know, that's a great hill training workout. It's a great threshold workout because your heart rate is so high up there, especially for you as a walker. You're building great quad strength. Yes, you could use maybe a little more hamstring, glute strength training. That plank I mentioned, where you're lying on your back and you're raising your hips up, kind of, off the ground. That'd be a great workout for your hamstrings, glutes. But yeah, great stuff. Great workout. Good grief, that's a lot of stairs.
I
Stair-
know.
It's a good name for it. Good for you. That's great stuff.
Thanks.
14, great work. Good. Anybody else question? Did that answer it, by the way?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Great, you're welcome. I don't see any more. I did see your question in the chat after you vocalized it. Anybody else? I don't see any more in the chat. Anyone questions verbally? Anybody, anything? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, I am going to turn off the recording. If anybody does, I will stand for a little while longer. Please feel free to ask away. And with that, for those of you watching, Jamie Sue, thank you. Oh, Jamie, I hope your feet are better. I just sent you a couple emails. I thank all of you for watching at home on the video. And with that, I will stay on for a bit longer. I bid you at home watching this on video. I bid you a good night. Good night, everybody.